the years, Edgewood always struggled trying to get an event that brought people to town. And it's about the people in town, but it's also about bringing back the people to town. And when I grew up in town, there was a summer event all the time. We had a carnival on Main Street one time. They'd throw ping pong balls off of a roof, and you'd be lucky if 100 or 150 people would show up to it. And those events were a lot of work too, but after a while, they weren't worth your effort. So we were looking for something that could actually do that project and accomplish what we wanted to do.
I thought about this rodeo and I mentioned it, and they said, well, where do we find it? And I said, well, we'll look. The next week, Mom and I took a trip to Europe, and on this tour, a gentleman from southern Iowa and I were acquainted, and I asked him what their town done for entertaining their customers, and he said, well, we got a rodeo. And I said, well, I've been thinking of that. Where would I get somebody to put it on and how it would work? So he gave me the information. When I got home, I went to the chamber meeting and told the fellas all about it, and they were excited.
And that's one of the best things about it, is that it did bring all the businesses and quite a few people that weren't involved with the businesses together to work.
The very first rodeo, when it came to town, I was working for the Edgewood Feed Mill. Of course, everybody knows Gerald Jack was one of the founding fathers of it. So by working for them, I got involved because the first rodeo was out there at the elevator site, so that's where we set up everything. And we had to set everything up from, gates. We had to go get bleachers and everything. And Jay Dagenford and I, we were pretty much in charge of getting the ground ready, which we have done on every rodeo since they've had it going.
The biggest problems every year were with the food stands. You're trying to get the beer going, and you had tap beer at that time. And nobody was used to running the tap beer, and you had to get a bunch of volunteers, and it would foam up, and you'd have a big crowd, and they're just waiting in line. And eventually it turned over to canned beer, and everything goes way smoother.
And it might have been the first or second year, I'm not sure, but it was like 100 degrees outside, and we were working our butts off all day long and hauling bleachers, and it was so dry and dusty. We're all standing in the middle of the arena. We're having a beer at the end of the day, and somebody kicked some dust on somebody, and it turned to mud because we were all sweating. And all of a sudden, you got a mess of grown men kicking beer on each other. And so, as weird as that sounds, that's one thing I do remember.
And also the other things I remember too are the nights when it would rain, the night before the rodeo or the morning before the rodeo, and everybody would be scrambling around Martinville and bring up these dump trucks and end loaders and be hauling mud out. It'd just be a disaster, but it always seemed to work somehow.
Like out there, we had to bring everything in and get the rodeo set up. I mean, there was nothing permanent anywhere. Okay, and then we was there for a couple of years. Then we had it at the Edgewood football field one year, which was really a challenge. We had to dig up the sod and get everything. It was a perfect place for it because the bleachers and everything was there. And then when we first came up to the site where we are now, it had nothing to start with. We had to start from scratch and do everything and getting everything ready for that particular weekend. There was, like I said, if it wouldn't be for all the volunteers we had in this town, it would have been hard to do.
As a chamber, we talked a lot about what Edgewood Days was supposed to do. We tried a little bit of everything, so we quickly learned that it was something that did a little bit of everything, and it was from the very beginning, it was just a really great atmosphere. It's just whether year 1 or year 29, it's just amazing that in the town, and this is what Edgewood does. I mean, the town just works together from one end to the other to put it on, and that hasn't changed a bit. I mean, as many things, it's so different from now than it was 29 years ago. But that hasn't changed a bit. The town just does it. It's every segment of the town works together, and it's just great to be part of.
Nobody ever figured it would go that long. Nobody. But I mean, it just kept getting bigger, and it still is getting bigger.
The bigger it got, the more it took off. I guess it just, it was always good. It was a great atmosphere for the town. But I don't even know when exactly that would have been, how many years back. But as it all of a sudden became a deal. It just became something that Edgewood was known for. And so once it hit that level, it was really quite fun to see that.
The that's what I'd like to see, of this to keep going on, and future generations to come, and for this rodeo to go on long after I'm gone.